you this. On Tuesday, there is the mother of all demonstrations. Wherever doctors will be striking tomorrow, we are striking. Wherever ukiona madaktari wametoka is heri, badala ya kumsikiza heri tuzime TV ajiongeleshe. Guys, nataka kuona watu streets. I want to see people protest for the betterment of their country. You don't know what it means having a better living conditions. Wachana na saizi unaenda unaona like sijui you are getting 20,000, you feel you are good because you can go drink. Mzee, kunywa Gilbis si life. Fika ile mahali unakunywa Matel VSOP and you feel like it's just a normal thing because life is just simple in your own country. Hii mambo ya kule sukuma ugali sukuma kila siku. Wake up and food is affordable. Internet is affordable. Fuel is affordable. Cooking LPG gas is affordable. So let us think about having a better country where you won't be struggling to get a job. Imagine unaenda mahali wanakuambia wewe umetumwa na nani? Not a country whereby mimi nimepigiwa simu, sijawahi kataa. I've been called several times by these ministries to go and work there, and many a times I tell them I don't want because the government fucked me up in 2022 and I never ever wish to end. No, I don't want. I looked for my own job and I do my own things. So guys, streets is the new language. Anyway, Njenga, proceed.
Asante sana, nilikuwa nataka kuongea for a while. Nitaanza na kusema vile Ibrahim Traore amesema, the president of Burkina Faso, it is either homeland or death, because a slave that does not rebel does not deserve pity. Sisi wote ni slaves kwa hii nchi. Political class hii unapata sasa ndio ina gather up to protect interests zao. Ase wote hao ndio shida inaendelea hii Kenya. Do mingi sana inaibiwa. So I want to keep it short na nianze na kusema hii movement yetu iko na impact kubwa sana, especially kwa sisi the young generation na sisi wenye tuko na platforms za kuingia hizi social media. Na ile kitu inatusaidia ni ati kuna the power of technology here at play. Lakini kuna mali pia tunashindwa sana na hawa politicians na ni place ya kuobserve. Ase wako na platform ya the mainstream media. Mainstream media itusaidia hata chochote. Hakuna kitu ya maana inafanyanga kukaba maisha ya Mkenya wa kawaida. Kazi yao ni kupatia hawa politicians platforms, waende wasitoke wase kwa ma TV. Na hiyo ndio information mingi sana inafikia wase. Tunashindwa hapo sana kwa the game of information. The game ya kupeana information tunashindwa. Hata tukisema tutadikitaje wase wako ocha ama wazazi wetu, we cannot give them this civic education kama wao wenyewe hawakuwa convinced from pale kwa television. Hata sio radio station, television sana. Hapo ndipo wanatupigia game. So with that naweza sema nimekuwa nikisikiza hizi spaces for a while. Na nitataja Ndegwa Njiru the lawyer mwenye alikuwa kama kaongea a few days ago. Akasema we are losing our eyes on the ball. For a fact, kutoa William Ruto itakuwa kazi ngumu sana. Aliongelea about the processes ya impeachment, hiyo ni ngumu. Yeye ako na majority in parliament. Akaongelea through the system of the court system. Yeye mwenyewe ndio alikuwa at the time ako na petition ya court amepeleka koti yenye inaongelea about the IMF and World Bank na rights za Ruto kuboro. Wanajaribu kumtoa through that path, lakini pia hiyo ni ngumu. But the fact moja alitaja ni kwa maana, hatuwezi toa ujamaa. Tuzamtoa tu na njia moja. Protest. Mubarak kutoka rais, kulikuwa na sheria mingi sana ziko Egypt zenye zina apply Egypt na Sudan pia. Wote wako na constitutions, wote wako na njia za kugovern watu na njia za kusilence watu. lakini daily protest na showing up of people itatoa huyo jamaa. Otherwise tukijidanganya ati hapa tunaongelea issues gani na gani na gani, atatuchapa kwa kila game. Yeye ndiye ako pale anaelewa the way game inaendelea, the ins and outs na the loopholes. Kama saa hii si unaona ashaingiza baba box akamuita, sasa wana protect their own interest. So ningesema hapa hivi tuko na shida ya information kupata wananchi, hata sisi wenyewe tukitokea huko nje tuna protest. Hawa watu wanaelewa nini tuna protestia. Hawa watu wanaelewa pesa ambayo inaibiwa. Hawa watu wanaelewa our lifestyle is not as per our taxation na ile do ambayo inaibiwa. Hapo tuna fail kwa sababu hata in all the spaces zenye ziko za social media, tuko hapa Twitter sikatai. Nani anapeana information Facebook? Nani anapeana information Instagram? Nani anapeana information Threads? Hii information inafaa kuwa ina penetrate to everyone, to every county, to every place. Information is power. Na nitaquote kitu moja nilisikia mahali, your ears are your biggest getaway, because what you hear becomes part of your thoughts. Your thoughts become part of your mood and your physicality. Then that becomes part of your behavior. Kama unaelewa hiyo, utaelewa ile tunasema. And your behavior is the result of that, which is the life that you have now. So information yetu lazima tutake isikieke kwa kila part ya Kenya. Sio sisi hapa tu. Hiyo ndio shida kubwa naona inatuandama. Kitu ya pili, this is a revolution. If you know the meaning of a revolution, utajua hapa kuna vifo zitakuwa wakali. Watu watakufa, watu watakuwa abducted. Serikali iko na all the tools za kutumaliza na za kutuweka chini. Serikali iko na hizo tools zote. And with this revolution, naona tunafaa tujipange vizuri. One, kitu ya kwanza tunafaa tujipange nayo, itukuwe na organized protest. An organized protest is a key factor to the movement. Bila kujipanga na kusema tu wasi tutokee, kwenye watasikia na hawatatokea. Na kwenye watatokea huko kwa streets walisikia through another person, na pia waende wenyewe wako wamekuwa hired kama goons. So lazima hizi protest zetu zikuwe organized, zikuwe orderly na zikuwe very very well articulated and planned. Hii inaweza kuwa kitu moja positive kwa hii revolution yetu, because for a fact, na hii ni fact kwa ground, kutoa jamaa itakuwa ngumu. Tutakama hapa tuongelee shida zetu, tutakama hapa hivi tuseme hii na hii, kila mtu atoe mashida zake, lakini kutoa jamaa itakuwa ngumu. Tunafaa tuconcentrate na vile hata pia tunakuwa advice na watu wako pale, mtu kama Ukio Mtata, mtu kama Kivutha Kibwana, watu wanakujanga hapa hivi na wanatu advice. Let us use our ears kindly tuweze kusikia nini tunaambiwa kwa njia ambazo tunaweza tumia kutoa ujamaa, because unless tusikize, hata kenye tutafanya itakuwa in vain. Kitu kingine ni kwa kutaja pia revolution hii yetu iko na impact moja peke yake, bringing proper governance and leadership to our own country. Ile ndio ambayo inaibiwa inapotea mingi sana, na inapotea through this governance. Unasikia pesa imetolewa ya county, pesa imetolewa ya wards, pesa imetolewa ya constituency, na hata pesa inatolewa on a national level, lakini hii pesa tuoni mali imeenda. Hapo kwa governance ndipo tunafaa tuwatoe vizuri. Kama IBC imepitishwa na kuna ways za kurecall hawa ma MPs ama vile tunaita ma MPs wakuwe recalled. Hawa motherfucker wa decide kukalia hizo vitu na kuendelea kusema hizo speeches zao wanasema huko nje na kwa parliament. Hakuwa kitu watusaidia nayo. Mimi personally naweza taka kurecall MP wangu wa Roiro. Huyu jamaa ndio alikuwa ametoa ile clause ya at any land inafaa irudi kwa gava, hadi land imekuwa inherited, hadi land umekuwa own. Umenunua, umestruggle hivyo vyote, you own land, alafu unaambiwa if you don't pay taxes for it, hiyo land si yako anymore, whether imekuwa inherited 150 years ago. So mimi ningetaka kama hapa kuna wase wa Ruiru, we plan vile tuza record huyo msee atusaidie sisi wenyewe tuchukue hiyo kitu. And with that naweza sema kitu kingine moja, najua kukaa bila leader ni very important within our movement, itatusaidia. Lakini tukiangalia on a factual note, we already have leaders. Wenye wana create hizi spaces ni malida wetu, wenye wanachangia kwa hizi michango ni malida wetu, wenye tutakuja hapa kuongea sisi wenyewe ni maleaders. Lazima tujitolee sisi kama wenyewe, hata kama hatutaki leader. Mimi ninge suggest a structural body ni important sana. A structural body si hawa watu tutaweka ati iko body ya sisi kutuongelea ati wao ndio leaders wetu. Hapana, wao ndio watu wanaenda ku air views zetu, because hapa tunashindwa kwa game yenye sisi hatujajipanga. Mimi ningeomba tu kwa uzuri tujipange vizuri, tujielewe na tutambue ni nini inaendelea, because Kenyans are looking for change, na hatuwezi pata hii change through political parties, na vile hatupati hii change through political parties, lazima tutaisik with and outside the political parties. So sisi wenyewe hatutaki political party, hatutaki leadership, lakini lazima tutafute ku air views zetu kwa Wakenya watuelewe. Lazima tutafute njia, because hivyo tu ndivyo nasema from my first point, tunapigwa hii game ya misinformation to the general public. Kindly naomba tutafute njia ya kuongea huko nje kwa public, because hata kwa hii Twitter space ni kitu mzuri juu sisi wenyewe tunapatana hapa hivi na tunashikana na tuna format, lakini pale tunapigwa teke kubwa sana. Na kitu mnajua moja ni lazima mrecognize the impact of the youth in our revolution. Sisi ndio wengi hii Kenya, wazae wanaenda ama wazae wanakaribia time yao. Sisi ndio youth, sisi ndio impact ambayo tunafaa kuweka kwa hii Kenya through this civil education, tupatiane huko nje kwa the general public. Kwa wale wame lose life zao, mjue ini revolution, mkuwe very careful. Wase huko nje wanakuwa abducted, wase huko nje wanaenda, wase huko hivyo nje wanapotea tu out of anywhere. Shadi leo amepost kwa ex yake, amesema ile tunamtingisha akiona hizi abductions sana natupwa ni ati kuna huyo mtu mwenye alikuwa amemshika ama karao alikuwa amemweka in a dark room, walimwambia umetrend sana Twitter brother, lakini ujue pia hiyo haiwezi kusaidia. Tunangoja tu order tujue kama tutakumaliza, na tukikumaliza ujue hata kaburi yako hizi patikana. So lazima mjue the kind of people we are dealing with. Say ni murderers, say ni motherfuckers that don't give a two shits about our lives. They don't care. So kila mtu akue sharp in mind, kila mtu akue sharp within their safety, na kila mtu akue sharp kwa maisha yake, kwa sababu hata kama mimi sitakuwa ama wewe utakuwa ama hata kama KOT atakuwa Raymond, movement itaendelea, lakini bado hatutaki wasee wa dedi. Hatutaki wasee wa dedi. Ile revolution ikiisha tunataka wasee sisi wote tukule the same cake. Sisi wote tujitokeze pale with pride. Tumetoa a tyrant from power. Na huu tyrant si moja peke yake. The whole political class is a tyrant system. Raila does not share our approach. Jamaa ako tu hapo just for his own selfish need. In Kenya, there's no political goodwill at all. Selfish interests ndizo ziko at hand. Raila ameenda pale a protect story yake yeye na contract anapataka kutoka gava and all the rest. He's just there for personal preservation. Kuna a culture of bad manners on all regimes ambazo zimeendelea hii Kenya. Na hiyo ndio bad manners ambayo baba amejiprovia. Na kitu moja pia nitasema, mwache kuentertain our politicians. Motherfuckers hatusaidii. Umeona vile Sifuna leo amesema? Umeona vile leo John Badi amesema? Sifuna ametoa from the word go, alimekuwa akisema Gen Z wamesema huko nje. Mimi anaongea kama kama brother mkubwa wa majenzi. Leo amesema aje? Leo amesema baba hajatokezea kuhandshake na Ruto on behalf of the Gen Z. Hajakuja kurepresent Gen Z. Ameenda kuwa represent wao kama watu wanamfuata. So tusientertain hawa. John Badi ukisikiza ile kitu amesema leo utakuwa very disappointed in him. Hakuna kitu ya maana watu wanasema. Hakuna, anasema that nobody should lecture us about maandamano. We have been there and we can return there, but only when Baba tells us. For now, let us support Baba for national conversations. Hakuna dialogue inafaa kuwa inaendelea at all. Our demands must be met and our demands lazima zipewe priority. So tujue hapa hivi tunachezewa game yenye pia sisi tunaweza cheza, lakini tunaweza cheza kama only tumejipanga. So naomba mabrother na masista zangu tujipange na tukue na discipline ya revolution. There's no revolution that itakuwa won without watu kujitolea na watu kuwa na structures, watu kwenda mbele. Hata ningesema kama kuna watu wanaweza chaguliwa wako na wana air views, si wanaweza badilishwa, si lazima wakae. If hatutaki wakae, we can be changing our structural body. Si lazima ikuwa the same people because we are leaderless.
Take the mace is the same power that allows you to go to State House. So legally, no. There is no requirement to give notice. And in any event, politically, strategically, it is dangerous to do
so. Thank you Mr. Jenga. Najua watu tuko na maneno mingi sana ya kusema. Pablo, utangoja kidogo, kuna line kidogo. Kama unataka kuongea inua mkono, tutakupatia mic. So kuna nini hapa hivi, kuna posti kwa hapa juu from KOT Sonko anasema tomorrow I'll be on the plane with at Radio Citizen FM. Hiyo itakuwa saa 2 usiku. Pia tuna plan kuhost space hapo kesho. Utauliza maswali zenye unataka.
And in fact this very upset
a
lot of people when I posted out there and say do anything you want to do within the law, but just leave that house alone. Because I was looking at it from the point of view that actually the State House as it is, having the symbol that it has, the people who've lived there have just been there for 10 years, whatever years, and then they go. So looking at it from the point of view of a commander-in-chief of the defense force being in there, the moment the citizens are coming, and sometimes these demonstrations are also infiltrated, unfortunately, what role, because of course he also has his security there, isn't there a chance of escalation when actually his security wants to protect him and whisk him out? That was, Dr. if you can clarify that.
Yeah, Maj, a lot of people don't understand that Ruto will be gone by the time people reach Serena Hotel. He would be gone by helicopter. He would not wait for people to reach State House. A lot of people don't understand that he may not even have been in town when there were demonstrations reaching Parliament. You don't know how cowardly these people are. But on top of that, it is disempowering to the people to tell them, to scare them away, to sell fear to them. Because all these revolutions we've been talking about, those places were also guarded. The French guarded their emperor. Ceausescu was more guarded than Ruto. The Philippines guarded their president more than Ruto. Compaore, a military man, guarded himself more than Ruto. Let's not sell fear to the people. Mugabe guarded himself. 1 million people cannot be shot on the streets. That would be suicide for Ruto. So let's not sell fear to our citizens. Our citizens have the power to take power that they donated to Ruto, and they can do that directly at State House. And I can assure you, once you have 1 million people marching to State House, there will be no shot fired. These police officers and the military will join the crowd. They will protest against Ruto. And Ruto will be gone before you can say hello.
Thank you so much, Dr. for answering me. Let's go by Hillary. Over to you.
Who's coming next?
Next, I'm having Ndegwa, Neto, and then KDR TV.
Thank you very much. And most obliged to be granted this opportunity. I pass my regards to Daktari, Miguna, and the CJ, and Tony Gashok, and everyone else. I am one of the proponents of believing that we must use constitutional means to dislodge William Ruto, and that all the constitutional tools must be put to test, and then we resort to extra constitutional means in the event the available constitutional tools fails. The last time I was on Space, I made a proposal of the impeachment, but I also looked at the other constitutional tool that is available in the Constitution in respect of Article 144, and I'll still merge it together with Article 145 that deals with the question of the impeachment, even as we await the answer from Dr. Chief Justice, members of the National Assembly. So the threshold is very, very clear, and a threshold that can easily be achieved. Then it further says that upon the resolution of Parliament, that resolution shall be passed over to the Chief Justice, who within 7 days will constitute a tribunal to investigate the health status of the president to govern. I believe if we can explore the possibility of using that particular tool, we may not be too far from getting hold of William Ruto. If you compare the process of the removal on ground of incapacity and you compare on removal on ground of impeachment, the impeachment provides that you require a third, at least a third of the members, and then to move the motion, and then you require at least 2/3 of the members to vote for the motion. So I believe these tools are some of the tools that can be explored in terms of trying to dislodge Ruto. Why? Because if we get out of the constitution, we may never ever get back to that particular route. Number two, Mr. William Ruto being rogue and being what he is, there is nothing that stops him from also saying that because the citizens have now abrogated the constitution, that he may also resort to very extra constitutional means of trying to retain power. And that extra constitutional means may be a very bloody process, because he'll be saying, I am in the office, I have the police, I have the army, I have the support. So he may also use very extra constitutional means. That is why, in my view, yes?
Or Kelly, can you land?
Well, I think those are some of the proposals I would perhaps be making. As I land on the question of the mainstream media, we need to boycott them so that they may rally behind the movement of the people. Number three, as I sum up, we must dislodge the current political status quo, and we need to have a hashtag of the hashtag of the status quo must fall, so that we completely get away from the embarrassment we found yesterday in KICC, that the people who believes in dialogue were in KICC yesterday. Those who believes in good governance and accountability are meeting where we are meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Over to you, Hillary, and then I see that Terry wants to chime in.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Wakili. Dr.
Subject to us hearing from CJ Mutunga, I just wanted to say quickly to Advocate Ndegwa, Ruto has piled up. So talking of blood is a red herring, because we already have blood on the street. Our people have already been killed. But more fundamentally, and I want you to think broadly, I want you to think outside the box. We are squarely within the Constitution. Article 1 is part of the Constitution. How can anybody say that power being exercised by the people under Article 1 is extra constitutional, is outside the Constitution? Yet that is the first article you read. Why should you go to the other articles and you leave the first one that gives you power? That's number two. Number three, impeachment is a non-starter. It's actually a big joke. Anybody who mentions impeachment and mentions it seriously may not know what they are talking about or what they are doing. We are not going to get into some exercise into futility. You're talking about people who cannot even impeach a governor? I mean, how many governors have been impeached? 2 in the history of the Constitution? I mean, Sonko and his brother from the guy from Kiambu. That's it. And yet we have crooks all over. And then you're talking about impeaching a president. You're impeaching a president who controls the entire parliament and now controls the so-called opposition also. Didn't he just parade all of them yesterday? That's the entire parliament he paraded yesterday. You're talking about the people whom basically mutilated the conflict of interest law. And they all voted as a block, 25 of them, with no senator voting no. Even the ones that are purporting now to be with the people did not even dare attend to cast their votes and say no. All of them voted unanimously. These are the people you say can impeach a president? My friend, let us not joke too much. We already have too many people suffering, many people abducted, too many people killed, families grieving, and then we bring them this. This would be to castrate the revolution. This would be to make it useless, to give people hope which is completely empty. It would be to divert our energies and anger into nothing. It's almost like the people who are telling us, let's sue Ruto. Sue him where? How? And how are you going to enforce the court orders? Because the court orders must be enforced by the police. So how would you get Ruto out of State House with the police that he controls? Please, let us think strategically. Let us not think like people who just went to law school to study black letter law and do not have the common sense to come out of it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maj, as you come in, thank you so much. I see Tony Gachoka carry his hand, but I want to give Neto, then Tony Gachoka, you can also submit yours. Neto, then Tony Gachoka. I know you are the guest, but Neto, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Hilary.
But also, Mheshimiwa, as you come in, we want to remind everybody that let us have socialize. It means that let us follow each other as possible, so that when we have all these spaces, you're aware of what is happening.
Hello, Maj.
Mheshimiwa, go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sorry, just a moment. Kibato, I can hear you. Probably you cannot hear people. Neto is speaking in a moment. If you cannot hear him speak, then please leave the space and come back. We'll add you to the mic. Over to you, Neto. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maj. Thank you, Hilary. I'll try to use my 2 minutes. I'm here not to ask questions, but to support my friends, Dr. Miguna, and also Dr. Willie Mutunga, my very good friend. I will rearrange my many points, but maybe it's a good place to start from where Dr. Miguna has left. The other things I'll be saying will be more signposts for him and Dr. Mutunga then to maybe expound on. But the first one, Dr. Miguna, I think there is nothing wrong in reading the black letter law. I just think that what Wakili Ndegwa doesn't understand is that constitutions need to be read in a continuum. Because if you look at the provisions of Article 146 of the Constitution of Kenya, it also provides for the president of Kenya resigning. And what we're doing is very constitutional. You know, the right to picket. I mean, of course, you've mentioned very well Article 1 with regard to the sovereignty of the people. Article 37, the right to picket. Article 146, the reasons why people picket is to present petitions and prayers to the people in office. And one of the things we are asking the president is to resign on the provisions of Article 146. So there's nothing extra constitutional about that. I agree with Dr. Miguna to the extent that an impeachment process is dead on arrival. So let's not even think about it. But there's nothing wrong with what Kenyans are doing right now, the protests, the pickets, to the extent that we succeed in getting President Ruto out of office within the provisions of Article 146 of the Constitution. That's very constitutional. The second thing I'd like to say, which is going to be my first point, was that I think there is the call for dialogue by Raila Odinga, I think was wrong-founded because as I listened to Dr. Tony Gachoka historicize the movement as well as Dr. Miguna and Dr. Willie, you know, all the things we're asking President William Ruto to do, some of them are within the provisions of Article 73 of the Constitution. It talks about accountability of leadership, talks about competence, it talks about integrity. That's all there. So what we're asking William Ruto and his deputy to do is to stick to the provisions of constitutionalism and the rule of law. And broadly speaking, constitutionalism is the fact that just do things as per what the Constitution is asking you to do. That's number one. But number two, let the rules apply across board for everyone else, so that it is not that for some people it's not clear. But the third thing that I wanted to say,
Neto, maybe just to emphasize on what Daktari was saying, I think it is so clear that with the kind of legislators that we have, it will be a waste of time you taking anything to Parliament. These are the same people that passed on the finance bill that was rejected by everyone in the country apart from a few elites. They are the same people who were, even when the demonstration was about to get to Parliament, they were in there forcing to ensure that because of time they passed that bill. They did. They ran into the tunnels so that they can hide themselves. The next day when the president rejected the bill, they were behind him clapping. So really, that is not a house of honor. There is nothing that you can take there and it can be passed. The same way that Daktari is asking, do we really have an opposition? These people were yesterday lined, both parties, ODM and Kenya Kwanza. They are the majority in parliament. They make like 99% of the representation. So where will you take this impeachment motion to? It is just an issue of common sense, if you ask me as well.
Thank you very much. And I agreed completely with Dr. Miguna. And I said that an impeachment motion is a non-starter. However, I said a constitution is ready in its continuum. And if you look at Article 146 of the Constitution of Kenya, it provides for a president's resignation. And what we are doing is very constitutional to get President Ruto out of office. There is nothing unconstitutional in picketing to the extent that the president gets out of office. I'm not asking about an impeachment motion, so I think that's what I wanted you to understand. So two things before my minutes then run out is two things I'd like to clarify. There have also been calls by Kenyans that there needs to be like something, a dissolution of parliament. If you look at the provisions of Article 102 of the Constitution right now, it does not anticipate a dissolution of parliament. So one of the things we must do is to succeed in getting President Ruto out of power. Then with the constitution of IEBC, which is what we must fast track also, and we must be vigilant about that, is to then use a recall process to make sure that we send the other parliamentarians home. The other reason why I was opposed to Raila's call for dialogue is that when President Ruto agreed to meet Gen Zs on the X space, there was no conversation about dialogue. There was no conversation about selecting 150 people. The conversation was very simple.
Neto, try to land so that I think your 2 minutes are done, and we have over 200 speakers on the queue. So please land so that they can give the mic to someone else.
Yeah, could you please give Neto a little bit more time, please, to
That's
finish?
what I wanted to say. Neto, I'm going to give you some of my 2 minutes. Please proceed. I know there's a reason why, because the legal thing is, it's interesting, and we want to also have that clarification. So please proceed to finish without interruption.
Thank you, Marge. And I just said the things I'm talking about will be extrapolated by Dr. Miguna and the Chief Justice. So 3 things then. One, I said, part of the conversations that we had was that there was no request by the Gen Zs for President Ruto to constitute a dialogue phase. Always misused people previously. And you must understand one thing with Raila Odinga is that he always wants to disrupt things. If he's not at the center of those activities, then he also wants to disrupt them. So I really think that in this particular instance, we cannot allow him to disrupt us. The third thing I wanted to say is the issue of public debt and an audit of the public debt. The reason why you might have seen Raila and his friends come out in the open is because you remember Raila being part of Uhuru's handshake, was part of the Chinese debts, was part of all these things. So they know for a fact that an audit or an opening of the public debt puts them all in the same corner. So what would I request of us to do in the next couple of weeks? Number one, I think we need to focus the revolution. We need to focus the revolution and Gen Zs did a good job by starting the revolution, but I really think that right now we need all hands on deck. We've been on this particular call with all these veterans, CJ Willie, Dr. Miguna, who started these calls earlier on. I think we need all hands on deck. Let the Gen Zs do their role, which they've been doing very well. Let the millennials do it, because it's for country. So that at least let's focus, so that when the part of leadership comes through, then let the Gen Zs, of course, then take over power in the way that they please. But let everyone else play their role. The last thing I'd like to say is the next weeks of IBC appointment. That's going to be the frontier where we must fight Ruto and Raila in a way that gives us what we deserve. You've seen the way it's always possible to manipulate IBC commissioners. The law right now, as it stands, is very skewed in favor of Raila and in favor of President Ruto, because 5 out of the 9 people to be appointed as the selection panel are all going to be from political parties. That definitely gives them an advantage in terms of who then becomes on board. So I think even though we might be disadvantaged in terms of where we're starting from, I think that space is going to be for eternal vigilance, because then people are so that we do not scare too many people. If we protect that particular space, then we are going to be all good. The last one, the call for Ruto must always be accompanied by the call Gachagua must go. Because part of what is going on in the streets is that people are wondering that if you let President Ruto alone, how then does Gachagua become president? Which is even more horrendous than the current president. So I really think that clarion call should be for both of them. Of course, Ruto must go, Gachagua must go. But of course, when both of them go, and there are constitutional ways of doing that. If you look at the provisions of Article 143, once the president has gone, the president, you can also throw away the deputy president. And then, of course, there's an election in 60 days. So that, of course, then still within the constitution. So that people like Ndego have no business getting worried. We will make sure the president resigns within the provisions of Article 146. We will make sure the deputy president resigns within the provisions of Article 143 and 144, and we shall have an election in 60 days where Gen Zs and other Kenyans can then put in the kind of president they want. Thank you very much, Maggie.
Thanks so much, Neto. And yes, and Tony, you're next. Thanks for your submissions there. And Tony, take a go, and then Mkenya, your question.
Thank you. I just want to address the issue of fear and the issue you raised about marching to State House, because look, these issues that we are taking are not easy. It was Winston Churchill who said that of all the virtues of a man, there is nothing more important than courage. We would not have got the finance bill retracted had people knew and marched. We would not have the IBC panel now appointed had there been no this protest and this sacrifice of so many Kenyans, because even the NADCO report was not able to give birth to that. And I want to remind Kenyans what happened in 2002 when Mwai Kibaki won the presidency. President Moi came to Uhuru Park and the public went crazy. Moi must go, Moi must go. And he had all the security and everything there, but nobody was holding back Uhuru Park. I want to associate myself with what Miguna had said earlier. I think this country has not reached the point of critical mass. When we reach a point of critical mass, we are so many of us that they will be all scared of us. I was watching last week all MPs apologizing. I'm so sorry I didn't listen to Jay-Z. I'm so sorry I didn't listen, because they can't go home. I want to be, because these people listen to this space, and I know many from State House and intelligence are listening. The reason they bring out the army is to scare you. The reason they shot all these people, even 12-year-old boy, is because they want to scare Kenyans. Fear is that is their merchandise. If we buy fear and we start now looking like we want to be apologetic, we want to do IPPG, we want to do small things, as Miguna says, the black law, letter of the law, we are going to begin to lose that momentum. What is important, no dialogue, no talks, and no retreat, means, are we ready to march, and to march even up to State House? Who would have believed would have got it into Parliament? Who would have believed that Ruto can refuse to sign the Finance Bill 2024? Who can believe even now the military is hiding? Although they are deployed, they don't want to be seen in the public. We are winning this war because we are courageous and we have no fear. Let them not even think we have any fear at all. I want to stop there.
Thank you so much. Dr. Miguna, do you want to chime in, or should we proceed?
No, go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead,
thank
go
you.
ahead.
KDR News, then Aspirants, then Kenya.
Thank you very much, Maj, Dr. Miguna, my good friend, and CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga. I'm a little bit confused here because the law which was rejected, but technically I'm not a lawyer, that's why I need people like Dr. Miguna to come in and really tell us what is the, right now, where are we with the rejected bill? We've not actually had anything. And as per the explanations, Dr. Miguna, I heard you last time. You said that after 14 days, and that's what is the Constitution. The law becomes effective. So where are we right now? And what can we do to salvage that particular law? And not really salvage, but just completely eradicate it. The other thing I also need to get from the legal minds is the aspect of, not really the aspect, but where are we with the real data of the people who are killed? I've tried to put my team in the field to get some more data or some more clarification, but they are getting a lot of pushback. Dr. Tony, I'm really having a very serious issue with getting the data from the hospitals, the data from the police. So up to now, even the 41 gallant members of the Gen Z who were killed, we don't really have a clear data and what really killed them, because what we also need when we are writing even articles, we really need to get facts right. So I'm still really having a very difficult time getting those data, getting the post-mortem, and up to now. So we are really having a very terrible situation down there. What can we really do to ensure we get this data, we get this information, and probably even file suits to ensure that these people have been brought to book? And then the other thing, when President Ruto is telling our Gen Z or our millennial or people like X, people older like us, what are we really going to do to ensure these people, especially the policemen, are brought to book? Why does he talk of dialogue? Why does Raila Amolo Odinga talk of dialogue while our people from our community in Kisumu down there, over 75 people were killed, and they were being pulled from their houses, from their huts, being clobbered to death, but nothing has actually been done. So I would also love the opposition to tell us exactly what have they done with the people who are killed. Right now, as we are speaking, there are people who are still getting abducted. The Gen Zs are being sent very weird messages threatening them and all that. So what kind of dialogue are they telling us while people are still being forced from their houses? They are being forced to abandon their just cause. I'm really having a lot of pain. And to finish up my 2 minutes, I'm still having a lot of pain. One of my sisters, I've actually seen her here, Dr. Kombe, when she was running from Kenya. Every media house really got scared of writing the articles about her abduction. Well, our media house, through a friend of ours from the airport, gave us the information. We didn't fear. We wrote those articles. So if you've got any information which deems to better the lives of Kenyans, send it our way so that we can publish it. If you have got good information, we can even interview you. If it's not on Twitter, if it's on YouTube or wherever situation you want us to publish your information, please bring it forward so that we can publish that information. So I really need some clarification from CJ Emeritus, Dr. Mutunga, or Dr. Miguna, or Dr. Tony. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, KDR TV News. We go to Esperance and then Kenya.
Thank you very much. I'll be brief. So I'm just wondering, do we wait for other people to act on our behalf, or how do we act individually to raise, to let the world know that indeed there are crimes happening against humanity in Kenya? I think Dr. Mutunga has dropped, but then I had a question for him. Maybe I was just wondering, as the first Chief Justice post 2010 Constitution, where did we lose it as a country in that one? Is the judiciary independent when it comes to draft? We've seen when this Kenya Kwanza government came in, we just saw cases being dropped one after the other in a very sequential manner. Number two, the issue of, I had him mention the issue of cattle rustling why are we glorifying robbery with violence in the name of cattle rustling? And is it something that cannot be stopped, or there's more to it than meets the eye? The third one, the ESCC, IPOA, and all these, are they toothless dogs? If that's the case, then how do we then handle them? Should we do away with them if we cannot fight corruption? The third question, the gift of public participation. Is it just a gift on paper, or do we have M&E tools to put checks and balances on it? Because we are in this situation. What triggered us to this situation is the people we elected failed to involve the public in public participation. So we went to the streets. And then I'll just, this is my suggestion. Can we break the system one department at a time, so that, you know, when uprooting one, say when we picked Nakumincha, can we ensure she's gone? Then Ababu, because like right now Ababu's, there are questions on the people he's carried to Paris. We'd want to know, can we have it clear how many people have gone to Paris and at what expense to the taxpayers' money, so that when we are pushing these agendas, you know, tunafinya, we inject until somebody goes. And then the person who asked, I think KDR TV News, who asked about data, I think because the government will not give us that data, I think that is HIPAA data, but we can get it from other CSOs like Badili Africa. I think Boniface Mwangi, I saw them working with those families, and they've been posting on their social sites, because they sought consent from the families. And then the last one, I think the Gen Zs do not need dialogue at this point. The things they're asking for should be done. Somebody said that when the government doesn't want to solve your problems, they create commissions, task forces, and introduce bougie words like dialogue. At this point, tribal kingpins, perceived or real, must take a back seat, because this thing is, I mean, the issues these people are asking, unemployment. What is dialogue going to create employment? And I still insist, can't dialogue run simultaneously with picketing as a right of the people? Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Esperance. Kenya, and then we probably the guest speakers can then chime in. Kenya, your question, please.
My question concerns all the 742 interns whose contract was terminated for participating in the strike that was happening. So how can that be addressed legally? So that goes to Miguna as well as the CJ.
Thank you. So Dr. Miguna, please take the mic. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to express my condolences to the family of David Majanja, the judge, who I have just seen breaking news, just collapsed and died today in Nairobi. Majanja is one of those very good judges in the judiciary. Unfortunately, he has died suddenly. I don't know of what causes, but that's the breaking news. Justice Majanja is dead. The second thing I would like to say is that NATO gave a very good presentation that I agree with entirely. And I think that he has made very good points. That for those who are picking up the points and digesting them and using them to inspire, those are very, very, very good points. Now I will go to Omweri's statement, the gentleman who spoke from KDRT TV. Is called Omweri. The data that we have, the only data that most people seem to rely on regarding the people who are dead, is from the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. But even their data is dated, in the sense that the last time they spoke of 42 dead, but we know as of yesterday that Denzel Omondi was found floating in a quarry near JKUAT, killed by the police and dumped there, tortured and killed. And just today, we also learned, maybe last night, that Duncan Onsongo was also found in a mortuary in Nairobi, having been tortured, killed, and then his body dumped there. So I believe that we are going to get many, many bodies. I am sure that the number of dead in Githurai was not 1 or 2. I think the numbers are being suppressed, just like with the bodies that are supposed to be in Shakahola. I believe most of them were killed during Uhuru and Ruto's regime of people that were protesting, and they dumped their bodies there. They basically buried them in unmarked graves. So it will take time. I do not believe that as of now, many people should be relying on postmortem reports. Remember, in Kenya, postmortem reports are being produced by the same government that is killing people. They can forge them. They can try to minimize the number of deaths. They can mislead. They can give us wrong information. If anyone died during the protests mysteriously of gunshot wounds or even of blunt objects, then we know that these people were killed by the police. Nobody was going around, or a gang was not going around killing people all over town and all over the country. We know for a fact that the organized killing was done by the police of Kenya. I personally would be suspicious if the numbers are not in their 70s, but we can only go with the official numbers, and there are 2 organizations that are responsible: Kenya National Commission for Human Rights and the Human Rights Defenders. These are 2 organizations in Kenya that have proven to be reputable. I'm not sure what the other question was. I want to comment on one thing that Neto said that I thought I should comment on. When people say Ruto must go, they mean the entire government of Ruto. They don't mean that they are leaving Gachagua out. But you know, political protests, propaganda, and strategy and tactics dictate that you need one message that is catchy, that has caught fire, and you don't want to dilute it. So Ruto must go is the chant. We don't want to water it down with Gachagua. We know that when we say Ruto must go, we mean Ruto and the entire government, including Gachagua. And so that's very clear. I don't think we should dilute it with anybody else. I suspect that the ones who are calling for impeachment may want Gachagua to take over. That's why one of the reasons I'm very opposed to impeachment, apart from the fact that it's a non-starter, anything that is going to allow any one of these organized mafia to succeed one another must be opposed violently. I drop the mic.
Thank you so much.
Marge, as you take the course, we have 29 minutes to go. So it is good to people to keep that. I think we've been here more than 3 hours. So we had them 30 minutes. That should be okay.
So, yeah, there was still more questions, but that's okay. Sir John, and then Be Real.
Marge,
Yes,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Can you hear me? Okay. I'll text him and tell him that he's not hearing me. But anyway, he cannot drop because he's the host. If he drops, the whole space drops. Let's go by Sir John and then Be Real. And then Yaraduen in that order.
Yeah, so thank you and good evening. I hope I'm clear. I just wanted to pass a message to my fellow Gen Zs that we should focus on our mission to occupy State House. Yeah, I believe State House is just like an apartment, and we are the people. Ruto is just like a tenant, and anytime, if you want to access our property, we should have our time and everything that we have. Yeah, so to politicians, yeah, they should know we are leaderless, and hence we don't need any representation from anybody or political anything. We are leaderless, just like that. Yeah, so thank you so much, and good night.
Thanks. actually, somebody has put a comment in a comment section. The first time Dr. Miguna held a space, there was this presidential space that was, speech in the TV that was to collide with his space. I experienced the same today, but it was done by another influencer who, in the beginning of the movement, was actually mocking people. So he went out there and just set a space, 30 minutes afterwards. So more of just to try to divert attention, because of course he knows that we're hosting this space here. So that always makes me wonder, what are people afraid of, that they keep diverting, listeners, either directly or if it becomes too obvious through paid influences. That's really sad out there. But anyway, that's the situation we will.
Marge, you can just call him out. We know who he is. I think it is just good we call him out so that people are in a position to know that person. Because actually, if you listen to his spaces each and every
Marge dropped. What's happening? Okay, who's going next?
Hillary, we can hear you.
Kingston, are you talking?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
Is there somebody talking? Because
No, I think they've dropped. All these people are dropped. When you can go ahead, then Nation, as they come, let me figure it out what's happening with them.
Thank you, Hillary. Thank you, the co-host that dropped. My bosses are here. Thank you so much to the guest speakers. Mine is going to be long. Now, I will echo what Esperance said about at what point do we declare these abductions as crimes. And my point would be, whenever we go for picketing, then the police will come and clobber us. They beat us, others shoot us, and that's why we are talking about deaths. And their excuse is, we are destroying properties and businesses. The last I checked, we are not responsible for the protection of people's businesses and properties. That is a mandate given to the government. Now, my question is to the guest speaker, and I really wanted Emeritus to be here, so he guides me without too much English and too many English. When I say too many English, I mean semantics. We are all Kenyans and we know. Last time, Daktari, my friend, you told us we need to take photos or videos. Maybe you need to check on Faith Odhiambo's page so you can see her frustrations with the photos and the videos that we share. Now, I am not a lawyer, but there's this part of self-defense. This is where my question comes in. At what point during these protests do we self-defend? Do we also carry our weapon to beat these policemen? Because they say we are stealing. They are the same people who are on camera stealing. Now, at what point do we now self-defend? And how can we self-defend? Minus, telling us the videos and the photos, because they are so not helping. Look at Faith Odhiambo's page. You will see you will want to go record that case and get an OB number. You will not even get it. So how do we self-defend? Thank you.
Thanks. Hillary, can you now hear me?
I can hear very well, Marge.
So anytime I say something critical, I'm always dropped. Hello, NSI. Yes, keep dropping me. The point I was saying is this one. Yeah. It cannot be that when a senior citizen wants to hold a space, we are in a democratic space. Then directly the other day, it was through the presidential press conference, that they tried to divert the viewers. Now, and I am really using the word allegedly here, I'm not mentioning names, but this is an influencer, but at the beginning was really trashing people, and if you went there and went to speak about anything about finance bill, he was even say, what are you talking about? Why are you complaining? So really, he still hasn't come out to say, to be really behind the movement or to support the people. So it is very curious that the day Miguna decides to do a space, 30 minutes later, he's also doing a space. And I saw that, and somebody has just commented on that and tagged a few people to just highlight this is what is happening. Then I'm taken off the space. I've repeated it that there. Stop fearing, because the more you fear, the more you even show us who we are supposed to listen to. We are taking notes. Over to you, Hillary. Yeah.
But Marge,
Yes.
Let us not talk like we fear anybody. And if you want to expose them, name them. This idea of saying allegedly, I don't know what is actually fear. Don't even use the word allegedly. Just name people, just like I do. How come they have not taken me to court? What do you guys fear? Don't fear these tags. Call them tags unapologetically.
Thank you, Dr. We are still training.
Yes, so call them tags unapologetically. Truth is an absolute defense in law. Nobody can take you to court for speaking the truth.
Yes.
And can I quickly just, Nyaradwen asked, do we have a right to self-defense? You do. Just like if somebody comes to your house and wants to invade it, you are allowed even up to the point of killing the person, if that is considered appropriate force. If a person comes with a knife, then you are allowed to overpower that person, including killing them, because if you don't, they can kill you. So the point is, it's a constitutional right to defend yourself. But we would always urge people to be peaceful, because the state has the monopoly
My
of violence.
concern is here about our fellow youth who are still in prison today.
So, Chege, I'll need to please mute your mic. Otherwise, you speak, but just mute your mic. Dr. Continue.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is this. You are allowed to use as much force as considered reasonable. The reason why we are urging people not to use any force and not to carry any weapons is because it is a trap. They want you to carry weapons because they have monopoly over violence. They have a license to kill. They are given guns that they can shoot and they can kill people. So we don't want to contest or to be competing with them over violence. Because the moment you do that, we lose the script. We can be blamed by the media, by the international community, by everybody else as being reckless. So we say, let's remain vigilant. Let's restrain ourselves from being violent. Let's not fall into their trap. But if somebody attacks you and you're a group of people and you can overpower them, tie them up and leave them there on the street or pick them up and take them to police stations. The question about running away when you can tie these people up or you can overpower them should not be asked. Use your head. If it is dangerous, don't do it. If it is not, arrest these people and tie them up.
Daktari, maybe just to echo to what Marge was saying, this person that has been trying to infiltrate our spaces, his name is Andrew Kibe. And if you can even look at his spaces, you can see today he's, I think he had...
My friend, let's not give Kibe attention. Kibe is nothing. He's an insect. Let's not give an insect attention, please.
Now, Dr. You understand why I was not mentioning
Yeah. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for us to talk about him. My friend, please. You are giving a tag, an insect, to boast how we were discussing him. Let's discuss these important things.
Yes. So, Mkenya, please take a minute to share, and then we go. Can you hear me? Okay, he cannot. So, Kenyan lady, you've been dropping?
Or just say, hey, because the main thing that we've been having in Kenya is the looting, okay? And the looting is like, I can't even explain, to an extent of us not being able to pay our bill. And it is not that Kenyans are not paying the bill, it's because our money is being looted. So here is my question, because we cannot postpone, whatever the amount we have borrowed, we cannot say, hey, hatutalipa hizi pesa. What can we do? So this is what that's one of my questions. And then the second question for me is that we have a lot of corruption, and that's the reason why we have not been able to foot this bill. And majority of this bill is actually arguable that we had paid and whatnot, but I don't want to go to that. So when it comes to the looting, just like we have witnessed a Ministry of Health working parallel to the main Ministry of Health, for lack of better word, what Hanifa has been doing for for the people that have died, may God rest their souls, is like a ministry, a totally separate ministry, while we have the mainstream ministry that's supposed to be doing this, compensating the people that have died, following up with their funerals and consoling with them. It has not happened, but we have seen from the contributions of Mwananchi, everything has been working smoothly, and majority of the people, actually everyone so far, has been compensated. As the rest come in, we hope that this can be sorted. So I am wondering, kunaweza kuwa na kitu kama bunge la wananchi ambapo we can have, because the biggest problem is that the looting happens, there is actually documentation, but then this documentation is not able to reach to people. And the biggest problem being that we have so many whistleblowers out there, but we are not able to reach to that information, or if they reach to that information, it is deemed that, it cannot be used or whatnot. If we can have maybe not a task force, I don't know what word that I can use. We can have wanasheria ambao can open a platform where even people in these ministries, they want to tell us, they want to tell the public, this is how this money was stolen, this is how this went, this is how this went. But they don't know, they don't have a way in which they can air those grievances. Like for instance, Rais alitumia 200 million, 2.4 million per hour to hire a private jet from taxpayers' money to come to the US. We know there are people who have those documents, the legitimate documents, but we know we are not able to fight that. How about we can have an anonymous depository of those documents where they can be received and reviewed by attorneys, and then from then we can see how we will recover our money, because we need to recover the loot. Again, I'm speaking to the fact that we cannot just say, hey, we don't have a bill. We borrowed this money and Kenyans have to foot it. But how do we do it? We have to recover that money from those people who've been stealing. Watu wenye wana, waving 20 million in Harambes. We need to actually be able to know how to get that money back so that it can be paid back. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mkenya. Sorry, a Kenyan lady. There's a Kenyan lady and then there's Mkenya. Mkenya, go. Please take a minute to just finalize. Mkenya, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've been now told that the sound that was confusing me was a token sound. Yeah, back to you.
Hey, Maj, jalipia token ya Germany. Okay, straight to it. I just wanted to tell this the message to Gen Zs who are here. I want to tell them one thing: we are on the right track. And when I'm saying this is it's 3.5% that brings the change. It's a rule, 3.5% rule. You can read about it on Google about it. But what we are talking about, we are now in the 60%. So it means we are on the right track. I want to tell, I've listened to this conversation and I want to tell all Gen Zs, the thing now they can do to us is self-fear. They've done that. and we are not supposed to buy it. That's the most they can do at this point. They've run out of options. And the moment, don't wake up and wait from Kenya Daima to tell you to be out there. It is your presence that will bring the change. That is what I want you to understand. Your value, it doesn't have to come from an influencer telling you to be out there. Don't wait for Maj. Don't wait for Miguna. Don't wait for Kimuzi. Don't wait for Anifa to tell you to be out there. I want you to be out there because your present is changed. That is what I want every Gen Z to understand. On 16th July, that is next week, let's all meet in all major towns. Be there, be present. Your presence is the change. Thank you. That's all I had to tell my fellow Gen Zs.
Thank you so much for that. Dr. over to you.
Yeah, Maj, I want to emphasize there are protests tomorrow. Let us not focus on the 16th. There is one tomorrow. They have been trying to divert people's attention from tomorrow. The 16th is meant as a red herring to divert attention from tomorrow. You can still have protests on the 16th. You can have protests every day. But there is one that was organized for tomorrow. But I think there are people who are pushing it off and trying to postpone it. We shouldn't allow that to happen. I also wanted to say the issue of debt we have dealt with here repeatedly. Legally, you are not allowed to pay illegal debts. I don't know why Kenyans believe that if I take debts illegally, then I can encumber the entire country to pay it for me, even when I steal that debt and put it in offshore accounts for my family. Kenyans are not responsible for debts that were taken illegally. And they are also not responsible for debts that have been paid many times over, but are still in the books because the IMF and the World Bank and our crooks in Nairobi have conspired to continue stealing from the country. Those are odious debts. We have no obligation to pay them. Number 3, we have been through this already. We know of trillions of shillings that have been stashed abroad and some locally. We are demanding that this is the money that once we get Ruto out of power, because he can't do this, we should be able to locate this money, repatriate it back to Kenya, and pay back legitimate debt. The rest we should use for developing our country. Ruto and his thugs do not own us. They do not own Kenya. We are not slaves. Ruto is not a king over serfs. Kenya is an independent country, a sovereign country, and we must exercise our sovereignty directly by telling Ruto, we are sovereign, we are free, nobody is going to enslave us. And this language of slavery, which I hear a lot on these spaces, we have to liberate ourselves from them. Let us not talk like Ruto chains us somewhere and forces us to do these things. If he wants to pay the odious debt from the money that he has stolen, let him go ahead and do that. They have stolen enough. Let us say enough is enough.
Thank you so much, Dr. 6,000, I see you. But kindly allow me to put Enoch first. He'd drop. People are dropping. They're requesting for the mic and dropping. Even me, I dropped at one point. So,
and Maja, I think the CJ was supposed to come back. He was looking at the Constitution and he wanted to come back and answer some questions.
Yes, I cannot see him on the mic. Kindly check with him and then I add him so that he can answer. Yeah, I can't see him on the mic, on the request panel. Yeah. So now, Enoch, and then Ahmed, and then 6,000, 2 minutes each.
Okay, I'm counting my time. I think it is clear, and we are making a statement to all African readers, not only Kenya, that as young generation, we have gone to school, we are learned, we know what we want. We want good leadership. We are where we are because of the bad leadership we have been experiencing before. and the backdoor agreements, all these bad leaders have been making before. That's why we are in this bad situation. You cannot tell me that, like today, it was all over the news. We cannot account for 1.3 trillion which have been taken in the last 11 years. We cannot account for it. Imagine how much that money could have been done, how many new cities it could have been built, how many development that money could have done, like that this young generation could be having jobs, so they can focus on their jobs and not these demonstrations. It's because their leadership has failed. Corruption is like the engine of this country. These are the things we want them to we want these leaders to understand. We don't want them to be involved with us. What we want is change. All of them must go. Another thing is, I really don't know. I saw there are some prominent guys here. I wanted to ask something. What happened to Konza City? What happened to Tatu City? I think like Konza City was supposed to start in the year, I don't know, 2011, 12, 13. What happened to that? All these beautiful projects that really come to Kenya, what happens to them? Why can't we see some development that as a young generation we can say like, yes, we are proud, this is our country? Why are we not talking of new airports in Kenya? Why are we not talking of subway stations in Kenya? Why are you telling me that I have to visit Dubai to experience the first class development, how it feels like? Those are the things we want to experience them here in Kenya. We have the resources, we have the capacities. It's only that we have bad leadership. I just want that question of corruption, how we can tackle corruption in a better way. Number two, we have an issue of pending bills. I understand, and
that we discussed that intensively, Enoch. We discussed the pending bills, but please do land in 1 minute. I'll share with you. We really discussed it intensively. Please do in 1 minute, and kindly let's try to stick to the the topic. No dialogue, no retreat, no surrender. Yes. Back to you, Enoch. Yeah.
Yes.
I cannot hear you. I hope I did not distort your thoughts so much. Sorry. Yeah.
The train has already left. We are not boarding. We are not stopping. We are moving. No surrender. We are moving forward, and that's what we want change in this country of ours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enoch. I'll send you details, or maybe if you check the recording, you'll find detailed information about the bills you're discussing. So, Hillary, who was next? I think Abdi, Ahmed, and then 6,000. Abdi, 2 minutes each.
But I thought we were coming to a close anyway.
Yes, we are. Okay, fine.
No, it's okay. I mean, let them speak. Let them speak.
Okay, fine. Okay. Let's have Thank those you. On the panel. Okay, those speak, and then Dr. will close. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Maj and Dr. and Hillary and everybody. Mine is just quick. It will be less. My take is we all ended up here because of lack of public participation and the government that did not want to listen. Gen Z has shown a remarkable unity and focus. How can we ensure they continue to avoid division along tribal line or political line and maintain their momentum in building a new Kenya? And that leads to my other question is what strategies can be used to protect Gen Z from being fractured by politics and ensure it remains unified and progressive force and to reduce their vulnerability to political manipulation. Thank you. And I think Alhaji Mutunga talked about that in the beginning, and I'll still get back to the question back to him and for those few questions and remarks. Thank you.
Thanks. 1 minute to Ahmed and 6,000, and hopefully by that time, as we close, Dr. Miguna would have gotten us back, Dr. Mutunga, to also close. Minute each.
All right. Mine is mainly to reiterate the statement that have been said all along for the last 3 weeks. the Constitution of Kenya is very clear. The sovereignty belongs to the people, and the people are us, not any other person who is in their imagination. And number two is that when we say the sovereignty belongs to the people, is that this sovereignty is the sovereignty. Sovereignty means here a right to determine self-determination, how we want to be ruled and whom we want to rule us. As long as it is within the Constitution, we have the power. And in this protest, is yes, within the Constitution. Article 37 was not just put there out of nowhere. It was put there out of necessity, out of means is Ruto must go. And anything that he stands for on the hangovers of the Kanu regime. Thank you so much.
Thanks. 6,000. And then I'm stealing minutes here for you guys because ideally we are closing. 6,000 a minute, and then we'll have closing remarks. I see the Chief Justice is also back. Thank you. Go on, please.
Mad, I'm here first of all to condemn Kenyans because we are our own enemies. Because we can't be going on streets and there are people who are sitting indoors waiting for us to go there and fight for them. We are fighting for our own country. Guys, I'll tell you this. Kama mdosi wako amekukalia, mwambie you are a Kenyan before you started doing his work. And go on those streets and fight for a better Kenya. Nobody is going to sit indoors. Me, I'll tell you this for free. Tutoke si wote tuende streets, and that is how we will win this war. Mimi mambo ya kukuja spaces, we come on these spaces daily. We talk, we don't action. And the moment we don't action, the government beats us on our own game. Ruto is a strategist. Look what he did on Tuesday. Just put a press conference before Maandamano starts at 10 a.m. And that one, he has beaten you in that game because you have to wait for that press before you go to that Maandamano. If we could have been in town by 9 a.m. so that he addresses the nation while Maandamano has started, angetoka hapo kama amefuta cabinet. Angejua these people are not joking and they don't want to negotiate. There is no room for negotiation. Talking stage we have left for our girlfriends and our family. Right now we are fighting for this country. And as a patriot of this country, kindly, don't sit indoors and wait because you are being paid 20,000, 30, 50, 60, 70. What is 100,000? Go die for your country. You'll have a better tomorrow. You'll have a better paying job. Wacha kukaa kwa nyumba because your boss, I don't know, my job needs you. Right now, your country needs you more than anything. I'm just saying this because we've been talking here daily from Monday to Sunday on spaces, talking no action, talking no. The other time it was 10 million strong. I went to the streets with my brother Ayo and Kowino and we were there. On Sunday we were there. All protests, we always find ourselves there, alone, fighting for this country. But other people, wanangoja waambiwe tutoke twende. Unangoja nani? Toka tukutane tao. Occupy CBD. The president should know these people. And I'm saying this with anger. And if there is anybody who want to arrest me because I told people to go out, come and arrest me. I'll gladly give you my location where I stay because I don't fear death. If there is nothing I fear, me I don't fear death. I only fear my mother and God. The rest I don't fear. Na nikikufa nasema muende pale Jamia Mosque, mununue shuka ya 30 bob, munifunge kama nyama, muende munizike. Don't spend a lot of money on me. Guys, let's wake up and fight for our nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, 6,000. Time has really, really gone. Nation, just a minute and then we close. Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank you, and I acknowledge Dr. Miguna in Berlin. When we met in 2018, he talked of the staying power of the youth, which we tended to oppose, but now it is real that the youth have the staying power. So kudos, Dr. for that foresight. So my question here is, don't you think that this youth Gen Z's revolution will be more lethal if we target the soft underbelly that has characterized what is normalized as the vice in the current political class, what I call materialistic consequentialism, in the sense that people don't say the end justifies the means. even if the means is impure. So can we fight this materialistic consequentialism philosophy and position within the political class? Because this is the root cause of rottenness in our society. And as I conclude, Professor Kivuta Kibwana yesterday on this space gave a very moving example of the youth, because of despair, unemployment, social pressures, are going for what we call aided suicide. They have been contemplating suicide, and that is why they are now daring the guns, the live bullets, so that it can be an easy alternative. They call aided suicide. So it is that grave, and we must act fast so that we can liberate the future for the youth out of this mass unemployment and economic disenfranchisement. Thank you, Dr. Rees.
Thank you so much, Nashon. Now we close. So closing remarks from Tony Gashoka, then Dr. Mutunga, and then Dr. Miguna. And as they do that, let's not forget to build the network by following each other. So do follow the host, co-host speakers, then look left and right and follow each other. Tony?
Well, I want to close by reminding Kenyans that there was no greater army, more armed to the teeth than the Boers of South Africa. They had tanks on the street, they had machine guns, and even did the Soweto massacre where they murdered children en masse. By the end of the uprising in South Africa, they were running to remove Mandela from jail, forcing him to leave so that he can bring some order in South Africa. I want to give hope to this nation. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., only when it's dark enough can you see the stars. I also want to take this opportunity, because of time, to thank Hilary and Marge and all of you by hosting this space, because I tell you, even in democratic evolutions, we always talked about the fourth estate, meaning media. But media has transformed in the internet age to become where we are now. Where we are is where the people are. To create communication and information is what will create the resolve and the determination of our people to liberate themselves, so that one day we can say we are free at last, and thank God Almighty, we are free at last. With those very many words, I want to encourage everyone that every day we wake up, we must wake up with one conviction, that Ruto is no bigger than Moi and others who have gone before him. Ruto must go. And if you make the decision, the numbers of the Jay-Z, the numbers of Kenyans are in their millions. We will have more than 17 to 20 million votes by the time we reach 2027. Ruto will go, and Ruto must go.
Thank you so much, Tony. Over to you, Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you. Actually, I didn't drop off. When I was looking at the question that I was asked, I was still listening, and the answers came from Miguna. There was somebody called Degwa who also weighed in, and Neto. So I don't want to go there except to say we're talking a political movement here. So if there are, and I know there are some Gen Zs that, and I've been told by some people that there are some people who have gone to court actually under Article 1, basically seeking to withdraw the delegated authority, of some institutions, and that they want to exercise their sovereign power, directly. Okay, it could be a strategy, but I mean, if certain GCs want to go the court route, and others don't want, I think these strategies have to be, to be discussed, because I think if they want to go to court, somebody is going to say that the judiciary can't deliver, the right judgment. There could be a debate around that. let's flag that issue, as an issue of strategy. But fundamentally, I agree that what is happening is actually a political movement that even if it's going to use the legal path at any point, it will be doing that, to aid the fundamental, political strategy. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much, and we keep talking. Thanks.
Thanks so much for coming and for sharing with us your knowledge. Over to you, Dr. Miguna.
Maj, thank you very much. I thank all the hosts and all the speakers, all the people who have listened in quietly and those who have spoken. And I thank the Gen Zs and the millennials for leading the struggle. I want to say three things. Number one, this struggle does not belong to one generation. I have been on this already, and I think we should make this clear every time. This is the struggle of our ancestors as much as it is our struggle and the struggle of the Gen Zs and also the millennials. Because what our ancestors and our grandparents fought for during colonialism, we have not obtained. We don't have our land back. Our sovereignty belongs to us and does not have to be vested on us by anyone, but it's been subverted successively by successive regimes. For we need to get that. We don't have all the freedoms that we assert we have in the Bill of Rights, including the freedom of association, including the freedom to protest. That is why they're shooting at us, including freedom of the speech. That's why the president Ruto keeps attacking us, calling us violent when we are just speaking. Let no one tell us that because we are not Gen Zs, this is not our struggle. That's divide and rule. Don't let anybody tell you that CJ Mutunga is not a Gen Z, therefore he should not be speaking. That I, Miguna, am not a Gen Z, therefore I should not be speaking. That's parochialism. That's sectarianism. That's a divide and rule tactic. We must reject it because our struggles are based on the struggles of the people who are long gone. Each generation stands on the shoulders of the previous one. Without that, there is no need for a struggle and we can never succeed. So we should get that in our heads and reject these people who are bringing divisive messages and ideas into our heads. We are together in this struggle. We are not united. We are not divided. The fourth point is this, and I have seen it. As I have said before, they have made messages and they are spreading messages of confusion. Let us not allow ourselves to be confused. We could be demonstrating and protesting every single day. There is not one day that is reserved for protests. As I have seen, that they were saying that the previous protests of last week failed, but there were people in Mulolongo and other places that were protesting and were very successful. The protests are going on all over the country. It's not just in Nairobi. Let's make it organic. Let's continue to do so. Let's make it huge. And it does not matter if only a handful show up. It does not matter as long as we continue on it until we achieve our goals. I wanted to say that we cannot call the martyrs, the people who have been murdered by the state goons, as having committed aided suicide. That kind of language is dangerous. These people did not go to the street to die. Rex did not want to die. Denzel did not want to die. Onsongo did not want to die. All these people did not want to die. They went there. Yes, they were fearless, but they went there to protest in exercise of their constitutional rights. But they did not go there to invite the police to shoot them. When they die, we should call them heroes. We should not say that they committed suicide or they wanted themselves to be killed. No. They were killed by cold-blooded murderers. Let us call the killers murderers. Let us not blame the victims. Let's blame the perpetrators. The last point I want to make is basically in response to my friend CJ. CJ, I actually believe that going to court is not a good strategy because it attempts to validate something that doesn't need to be validated. Our rights under Article 1 do not need validation by the courts. This is something that I was being told when Uhuru Kenyatta forced me into exile. And people are telling me, oh, the courts gave you. The courts did not give me any rights. The courts simply affirmed the rights. So if somebody is going to court for the affirmation, no problem. But we should not make anybody think that if the court does not affirm it, therefore the right does not exist. Because the danger is, if you go to court saying, we have the right under Article 1 to exercise our sovereignty directly, what if the court says no? And then you give the regime the weapon now to attack you, saying the court has already ruled that you cannot do what you are doing. So therefore you fold and you call off the protest. I think that is not a strategy. That is actually naive. That is trying to buy into something that you have no control over. We already have the constitution which we gave ourselves. That's enough. Let's not look for validation from the courts because the courts can be used against us. We should only go to court for things that we are almost certain that even if the court rules against us, it cannot be used by the regime. That would be good strategy. So as I leave, I would like to say, I don't think that this organic, tribeless, leaderless movement should be controlled by anyone, including the ones that are spreading posters saying demonstrations can only happen on this day or that day, or between these hours and these hours. And that makes me agree with 6,000 who said the less spaces, the better. But spaces are important spaces for mobilization, for asserting our rights. But the more of us on the streets rather than the spaces, the better. Have a good evening. Have a good weekend. No, have a good day. Have a good afternoon. For those who are where it is morning, have a good morning. Let us continue the struggle. A luta continua. Viva.
Thank you so much, General, and thanks everyone also for listening. And so now, Hillary, come on and